Hello everyone, I'm Annlanka JEYADHARSHINI and I'm going to present an explanation of the poem My Last Duchess written by Robert Browning. Robert Browning was a major English poet of the Victorian age. He was mainly noted for his mastery of dramatic monologue and psychological portraiture. His most noted work was The Ring and the Book, the story of a Roman murder trial in 12 books. His first published work was Pauline, a fragment of a confession. Although formally a dramatic monologue, it embodied many of his own adolescent passions and anxieties. He was the son of a clerk in the Bank of England in London, and Browning received only a slight formal education, although his father gave him a grounding in Greek and Latin. In 1845, Browning met the poet Elizabeth Barrett, with whom he fell in love and got married to, and later shifted to Italy because of her health. They stayed there till her death a few years later, after which he returned to England with his son. His dramatic monologues have put him high among the Victorian poets. My Last Duchess is a dramatic monologue written by Robert Browning in 1842. The poem speaks about the Duke and his former wife, his opinion of his former wife, his perception of her character, and this is discussed with a representative of the family of his bride to be. So, this compelling psychological portrait of a despicable character is used by Browning to critique the objectification of women and abuses of power. Dramatic monologue means self conversation, speech, or talks, which include an interlocutor presented dramatically. A dramatic monologue has three of the following features mentioned here: a single person delivering a speech on one aspect of his life. The audience may or may not be present. The speaker reveals his temperament and character only through his speech. So let us look into the poem now in detail. So, what is this poem really about? The poem is said to revolve around the character of a duke who is supposed to be the Duke of Ferrara, and he is giving a tour to the envoy of an unnamed count. The duke is a widower looking for a new bride and is interested in a wealthy count's daughter. He shows the envoy a painting of his late wife, which is kept behind a curtain. While revealing this artwork, he discusses her. His aim is to criticize her personality and conduct. At the same time, he reveals some unsavory aspects of his personality, such as his jealousy and possessiveness. A key feature of the dramatic monologue is that the speaker often reveals something important about themselves while they are discussing events or a particular topic. In the case of the Duke, the reader learns not just about his personality flaws, but that he may also have ordered the murder of the late Duchess. So he is discussing his wife's expression which has been captured in the painting. An expression which intrigued the onlookers, who turned to the Duke with a question in their eyes, wondering what caused such an expression on her face. So the Duke goes on to explain that this expression is not just a result of the presence of the Duke, her husband. Anything could have caused her shy expression. He says maybe the painter said her mantle is over the lady's wrist, or that pain could never reproduce her beauty. She considered such stuff as courtesy, and her face filled with joy. She seems to have had a heart that seemed to be made of gold. She was easily impressed. Anything or anybody could impress her, not just her husband. So she goes on to say that she smiled at the Duke whenever he passed her. But then he says that she smiled at whoever passed her. And it was the same smile, whether it was her husband or whether it was anybody else. The Duke was incensed by her seemingly untoward behavior. And then he seems to allude that one day all her smiles stopped together because of a command that he gave. It seems to imply that he ordered her murder and she was killed just because he did not like her humble behavior with everyone, even though she was married to a duke who belonged to a great family of ancestors who had been dukes for generations together. And then, very casually, he moves on to speak about the dowry that he expects from the bride that he has decided to take after the death of his first wife. And he casually moves forward, showing the different exhibits around his house to prove his point that as he is a man of great power and influence, he would not allow a decrease of dowry in any way from his bride to be. So, this is the explanation of the poem My Last Duchess. I hope you really understood this explanation. So, here we see how the Duke considered his last duchess as just a possession that he could do away with. So, at the time of this poem's publication, the wealth and property of married women in England automatically came under the control of their husbands. Therefore, women were often viewed as property, a possession to be acquired alongside other wealth and desirable family connections. So, Browning has beautifully expressed all these qualities and the attitude of the society of that time through this lovely poem, My Last Duchess. In this slide, I have given the references, the websites that I had referred to prepare this e-content. I'm thankful to all these resources available on the internet. I hope this explanation is of use to you all. Thank you for listening. Bye.